On this episode of Locked On Angels, who's going to be the everyday center fielder? Well, Wash had some thoughts, and he shared one thing that he's looking for that's going to help him to decide. Plus, we're also going to recap the game from yesterday and share where Ryan Zeferjahn fits in this bullpen. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube and leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And this episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, it's our fourth season here as the host of Locked On Angels. We're here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, every single weekday, talking Angels baseball with you. On today's show, what's the role going to be for Ryan Zeferjahn in the bullpen? Who's going to be playing center field this season? But first, Mike, let's talk about José Soriano's best start of the spring. Let's get into it.
It was a 1-0 game yesterday. The Angels lost that game, but José Soriano was great, John.
Yeah.
5 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned, 6 Ks, no walks, and John, 68 pitches.
Just one off.
Just 68 pitches for this guy in 5 1/3. That's a great efficient line, and that's what we want from our pitchers. Some key moments from Soriano. He struck out Santiago Espinal at the top of the zone with a 4-seam fastball. John, it hit 98 miles an hour, and then he did give up 2 doubles in the second inning, but they weren't exactly really bad pitches. One was a sinker down and away that went the opposite way, and then another one went to right field, but Moniak kind of one hopped it to Paris, who then threw home to Chucky Robinson and then tagged the runner out at home. And then had another strikeout. It was against Elly De La Cruz. He threw a sinker at 98 this time. Then he threw a 92-mile-an-hour splitter to get De La Cruz out in front. And then Gavin Lux, former Dodger, was on the Reds now, and he worked a full count against Soriano, but then he struck out swinging again, a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, 4-seam fastball. And where was it, Johnny?
At the top of the zone, baby. Let's go.
Soriano had 51 pitches through 4 innings, and again, finished the day with 68 pitches in 5 1/3 innings.
Yeah, a couple of takeaways from this start. First of all, again, his best start of the spring. Looked like the guy that we are excited about being in this rotation. Here's what really stood out to us and that we want to share with our everydayers. First takeaway is that he's using the 4-seam fastball at the top of the zone to get strikeouts. And according to StatCast, Soriano only had 8 strikeouts on his 4-seam fastball last year. He did get the most strikeouts with his knuckle curve, 45 Ks last year. But Soriano has a bunch of stuff that works downward, Mike. The sinker, of course, the splitter, and the knuckle curve, they all kind of traject down. So using that 4-seam fastball at the top of the zone, super effective way to change the eye level of a hitter. And man, their eyes get real wide when that fastball is sitting at the top of the zone, but at 98, it's really hard to catch up with that. And so that's why you saw him getting strikeouts with that 4-seam yesterday, because he had everything down. Then suddenly, here comes 98 at the top of the zone. Try and hit it. I dare you. And they struck out, and it was pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, another takeaway, John, is he was playing the splitter off the sinker. Now, if you're new to baseball and you want to sound cool, and you go to a game and you're with friends, just say that. Man, he's really playing the splitter off the sinker. You're going to sound incredibly awesome.
Right.
That's what he was doing, John. Soriano's sinker maxed out at 98.7 miles an hour yesterday, but the splitter sat around 91 and 92. And both pitches move downward, but the difference is the miles per hour. That's key. Soriano threw a sinker to De La Cruz and then a splitter, which got Elly out in front of the pitch. And then he swung and he missed and he struck out.
Yeah, because he's used to that sinker coming in at 98.
Right.
Then you give him something that moves the same, looks the same, but comes in slower, about 6-7 miles an hour slower. It's going to get guys out in front. So that was key as well.
So try it one more time. Man, he's really playing the splitter off the sinker. You're going to sound like a brilliant fan. You're welcome.
Hey, what do you think? What does Soriano do so good? Well, he plays that splitter off the sinker real well, you know?
Tweet that.
Mike, one more takeaway?
Yeah.
No walks.
Mhm.
The biggest difference here from his last start is the fact that he had no walks. And it was all about getting ahead and throwing first pitch strikes. In fact, only 7 out of the 18 batters that he faced yesterday started with a ball. And it was often the knuckle curve out of the zone. So he was trying to get guys to chase it. Didn't really work. But again, only 7 started out with ball 1. Everything else started out with strike 1, whether that was a swing and miss, a foul ball, or in the zone, a called strike. So Soriano proved today that he's way more effective when he gets ahead in the count. I think that's why he was cooking all game long. And that was just a fraction of what I think he's going to do this season. Obviously, this was the best version of Soriano.
Yeah.
And I hope that he's able to bring that into 2025 with him.
Yeah, not much offense in this game. In fact, really little to no offense in this game. I'm not too concerned about that, Johnny, just because this wasn't the full-time starting lineup. We're supposed to see that today. That's what Wash said. So we'll see. This is being recorded before the game. So we'll see what lineup they throw out there, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. But Tim Anderson was in the lineup. He went 0 for 2 with a walk and a K. Shonawell was in the lineup, 1 for 3. Jo Adell, we'll talk about him in the next segment, but he's scuffling, man. 0 for 4, 2 Ks in this one. And then Matthew Lugo has really caught the attention of a lot of people. But the thing that has been a bit concerning about Lugo is he strikes out a lot. And in this game, he struck out twice, did draw a walk, went 0 for 2. He did work a 12-pitch walk against Nick Martinez, and then he stole a base. So that's a good sign on that walk. But it's also something to pay attention to, that he usually, when he strikes out, it's not because he's patient. It's because he's going up there and he's rushing or he's nervous or he's trying to find his pitch early in the count, and suddenly he finds himself down 0-2. And then Mickey Moniak went 0 for 2 with a walk in this game. His walk was a 7-pitch at bat, so that's a good sign for somebody like Mickey Moniak.
Yeah, I think the best thing you could say about the hitting today was that they did work counts.
Yeah.
And they did battle. I mean, Matthew Lugo working that 12-pitch walk was really great to see. And what's crazy is Nick Martinez, he's got a six-pitch mix, Mike. So he's got 6 different pitches that he can throw, and he threw all of them yesterday's game. I did notice that the Angels were really aggressive early in the count to start the game. They were trying to hit his fastball, which isn't all that hard. It's 92 miles an hour, but he also, throwing different pitches in there, so you never know what you're going to get. But they did adjust and battled him to make him throw a lot of pitches. In fact, they made Martinez throw 76 pitches by the end of the 4th inning. So they were really working counts, battling up there. And then another thing I noticed, when the offense wasn't working, but they were getting on base, the Angels were really trying to be aggressive on the base pass when the hitting wasn't happening for them. You had that stolen base by Lugo after the 12-pitch walk. There was a stolen base attempt by Mickey Moniak. He was caught. Tim Anderson got caught in a rundown. He was leaning, getting ready to take second, and I think they did a pitch out on him, and so he was caught in a rundown. And then Kyron Paris late in the game had a nice double, and then he tried to score from second on a base hit, but he was thrown out at home as well. So I appreciated the fact that, look, nobody's coming through today when it comes to hitting, so let's try to be a little bit more aggressive on the bases. And, in some instances it paid off. In some instances it didn't, like that Kyron Paris when he tried to get home on that double. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, who's going to be the everyday center fielder? Well, Wash had some thoughts on that, and we're going to share those with you coming right up.
Hey, today's show is brought to you by Supply House. You can get supplies that you need from the site that's made for skilled trades at supplyhouse.com. So whether you're plumbing or you're HVACing or you're doing electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest products to give you the right info so you can get the help you need and get the job done right. Plus, They've got a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts with over 400 plus top brands. You're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. You're always going to talk to a real person. And if you're a trade pro and you're looking for the extra edge, you can join their Trade Master program. It's free, and it offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are taking advantage of this right now, and now it's your turn. So join the Trade Master program, easy for me to say, today at supplyhouse.com/TM, and you can start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use this promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. It's all found at supplyhouse.com.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Mike, did you ever get into Ted Lasso on Apple TV?
I did. I was told I remind people of Ted Lasso.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That was a nice compliment.
It was my wife's comfort show after she had our baby. And so the reason I bring that up is because Game Time is telling you that there's nothing like the energy of an MLS match, the chance, the atmosphere, the last-minute goals. And if you want to experience it all live, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever with last-minute deals, all-in pricing, the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes all the guesswork out of buying MLS tickets. Plus, ticket prices actually drop as kickoff gets closer, so you can score amazing seats at a great price. And you can also get the exact view from your seat before you buy those tickets, so there's no surprises, no big giant concrete poles in front of you. You'll know that ahead of time. Game Time has event cancellation protection and job loss assurance, so you can buy with confidence. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Thanks so much for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. And we are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And we're glad that you're here every day. It's why you're a smart fan, and we want to help you be even smarter in 2025. And to help you with that, we're going to talk about the center field position on the Angels. Who is going to play center field every day for the Halos? Right now, the team and Wash said, we aren't sure. Wash said, I want somebody to take over. But right now, Wash said that the two players, Jo Adell and Mickey Moniak, have been very inconsistent. Now, Adell has played more than 70 innings in center field this spring. Moniak's played a little bit more than 50 innings this spring. And after yesterday, John, Jo Adell is hitting 118 with a 3.83 OPS and 51 at-bats. For Moniak, a little bit better, not great, batting 200 with a 645 OPS and 45 at-bats. Now, Wash acknowledged that if either player establishes himself in that position, they will have to decide on the starter game by game. So if they don't establish themselves, then they're going to decide game by game who's going to be in there and who's not. If they use a standard platoon, Moniak is probably going to face more of the right-handed pitchers, so he'll get most of the time, but that's still up for grabs right now, according to Ron Washington. And speaking of Moniak, John, Wash said he'd like to see him improve his approach at the plate. Why don't you share with us what he said about Mickey?
Yeah, he said on Moniak, we would like to see him get more consistent with using the opposite field. Not that we want him to become an opposite field hitter, but if they decide they're not going to keep the ball close to him, he's got to be able to use the other parts of to get the ball where he likes it. Mike, that's interesting because you do see Mickey Moniak striking out on stuff away. And I think it has everything to do with the fact that he is trying to pull that to the right side because he's a lefty. But man, if he started just, poking it the other way and hitting it down that third base line, you could see him run out for a double, nearly every time, because that third baseman's going to be shifted over when there's a left-handed hitter up there. So if he can sneak it down the line, that's going to make a very big difference.
Hey, listen, drop a bunt down that third base line.
Yeah,
that's the thing
he tried the other day. Actually,
yeah.
I think we've seen more and more of that in spring.
I think he needs to try that more often, and just to get them to play him a bit more straight up. Because if he's dropping a bunt down, I get that he's not hitting for power and not going to knock in many runs. You don't do it obviously with runners in scoring position. However, if they're going to play you off the line like they've been playing you off the line, I think you got to get them to take a couple of steps to the right and have them respect you that way. So just drop a bunt down. And he's got the speed, John. And so if he can get a good bunt down, he's going to make it over there because that third baseman has to come in quickly unless the pitcher can grab it. But then the pitcher is throwing off his back foot when he's throwing the ball over to first base. So I think it's a smart decision for him to do that. I also think it's a smart decision for him to learn the Louis Rengifo left-handed swing and hit when Rengifo was just slapping the ball into left field last year. It's why he hit 300 before he got hurt. And I think that that's going to be a benefit to Moniak. And here's why. He's not a guy who walks a lot. He's a guy who thrives on contact. And so if he can not just be a contact hitter by pulling the ball and using his power, but being a contact hitter by slapping the ball to left field, I think that this guy actually could find himself with a batting average at 280, 290, maybe even 300.
For Moniak?
I think so.
Okay.
I think now you got me questioning myself. But listen to me. I mean, if he figures that out, and he's slapping the ball over there, if he's taking advantage of the fact that they're pulling him and he's laying down a bunt,
right,
that's going to be a benefit to him.
Yeah.
And if he continues to, if he figures it out and he's consistent in it, then I think what we saw with Rengifo, Moniak could potentially repeat this year. So that's why I think he could be higher in the batting average than he's been in years past.
Well, and there's two things with Moniak. Number one is exactly what you said. If he can hit it down the opposite way, go down the right field line or whatever, and even sneak a bunt in there, do with the Rengifo thing, that's one thing. The other thing is, Mike, is just the approach at the plate, right?
Yeah.
You and I have clamored for 2 years now. Mickey, stop swinging at the first pitch, bro. They're gonna throw you junk because they know you'll go after it.
Right.
And what I've seen in spring is a lot less of that. In fact, I think it was I noted yesterday in the game that there was I believe it was a cutter, and he laid off of it for ball one, and it was like good progress. Way to go, Mickey.
Right.
So
right.
I think in that sense, the walk rate has to come up. He's got to be able to lay off the junk that's out of the zone and not go chasing after it. And even if he does go chasing, that's when you end up hitting it the opposite way. If it's a little bit outside the zone away from you, you sit back on that pitch a little bit more and you're a little bit late on your swing, it's going to go down the opposite way. So again, he can't be pulling everything because if anything is on the outside, he's going to be swinging right through it.
Right. Now let's talk about Jo Adell for a moment. Wash wants to see Adell focus less on power. Stop me if you've heard this before. Wash said, we know he's got the potential to pop the ball out of the ballpark, but he's also got the potential to get base hits. And I want him to understand that is his sole purpose, not to try to hit home runs every single time. His sole purpose is to try to have good at bats. And with his ability, the home runs will happen. His purpose is to learn how to be the best center fielder he can possibly be. And he did that last year in right field. I'd like to see him repeat it this year in center field. Johnny, I know that both Moniak and Adell have gotten a lot of grief when it comes to their batting average and not performing. Do you think they just need some more at bats in order to figure some things out? Or do you think that this is kind of going to be the game that we're playing right now? You're muted.
I was trying to find my Jo Adell Stan button to wear. No, I'm just kidding. Because you guys know I like Jo Adell. And here's the thing. Like, to answer your question, I hear what Wash is saying, but you know what else they said at the beginning of the spring, Mike, was, we want to see Joe be a little bit more aggressive up there. And I'm like, have you not been watching him for the last 5 years? I know you've been here a year, and he was even doing it last year, but the guy being aggressive has caused him to chase stuff out of the zone.
Yeah.
And what I will die on this hill that if you let Joe be selective and let him choose the pitches that he needs to go after. Yesterday, he went at a fastball at the top of the zone, swung through it. Kind of what Soriano was doing to the Reds, right? And then also he gets a sinker. Oh, beautiful spot in the strike zone. And he was just a little bit on top of it, Mike. But he hit it 110 miles an hour. The other day, he hits a 107 mile an hour fly ball to center field that had an expected batting average of 750, and it got run down out there. And so what I'm looking at here is a mix of mixed messages from the coaching, some bad luck when you think about the expected batting average being 750, right? It should have landed for a hit, but just a great defender out there. And what I'm getting at is what I haven't seen from Joe is chasing the low and away pitch out of the zone that he would constantly chase after, constantly. At least yesterday, he got jammed on his hands, and then he swung through the fastball at the top of the zone that was coming in at him. And I say all this because the more selective that he is, the more pitchers are going to be afraid to throw at him in the zone, because you got two choices. You can walk him and you can throw it in the strike zone. Yeah. And if you do, you better hope he doesn't hit it 110 miles an hour. And so to hear that, they wanted him to be more aggressive in the zone and things like that, I get it. And when he is in the zone, he makes good choices. But if they ask him to be more aggressive, he's going to end up swinging at stuff that he can't catch up with, or he's going to go back to swinging at stuff low and away. He needs to learn, and the coaches need to emphasize this, that he needs to shrink that strike zone for the pitcher on the mound, because if he gets anything outside of it, he's not going after it. He's not going to chase it. And if we see him take more walks, that's fantastic. But if he gets a pitch in the zone, he's going to hit it hard. He's one of the hardest hitters in all of MLB. And I think they're doing him a disservice with some of the coaching that they've given him.
So the inevitable question that I think everydayers are going to ask is, so when does Jo Adell take responsibility for Jo Adell? And I know that you're not saying that he shouldn't take responsibility for himself, but there is a lot of mixed messaging just this spring.
Yeah.
And then it was the toe tap versus the leg kick.
Yeah.
And so I think for Joe, and I also think for Mickey, like there's got to be a point where these guys go, I'm going to go up there with a plan. I'm going to take all the information that they have given me, and I'm going to go up there with a plan. Here's why I think that there's a mixed message, John. I think there's a mixed message because Joe entered the spring, and what he was doing at the start of the spring, they said something about being aggressive. And so he was aggressive, and the results weren't there. And so I think that they were trying to then tease that out with Joe a little bit. Like, hey, maybe instead of swinging for the fences, we'd love for you to spray it all over the field, like they've said to him last year. And so then he started doing that, and the results weren't there. And so I think that the messaging is changing. It's consistent with what they want from him. It's tiered, I guess, is probably what I want to say. It's tiered. Like, start here, Joe, and be a bit more aggressive, but don't necessarily be so aggressive that you lose your focus and you're trying to hit home runs all the time, that you're not using the whole field, right? And it just seems like any sort of message that gets sent to Joe, it computes at about 65%. And then the other 35% is him just not being able to put it all together. And so I hear what you're saying. Kind of feels mixed messaging. Maybe it's more teased out messaging, but at some point, Joe and Mickey have to take responsibility for themselves, and they have to perform, or we have to move on. And I know that they're young, and I know that we still have them under, cheap deals, but I mean, these guys can't keep being a big giant hole in this lineup anymore.
Right. And especially with an important position like center field. And if you are watching somebody like Matthew Lugo do what he's doing this spring,
right,
I think that, I'd be worried about my job if I wasn't able to turn it around. I think that they're going to give Moniak and Adell a long leash, but at the same time, I mean, you've got somebody breathing down your neck now with Matthew Lugo, and maybe even Kyron Paris, Mike. Maybe Kyron ends up being a better outfielder than infielder. He's certainly got the athletic stuff.
Yeah.
So when it comes to center field this season, look, if this was it, I think we all kind of knew that this is where it could end up, especially with all the talk of Mike Trout moving to right. Like, you had your chance to go out and get a center fielder. If you really wanted one, you could have done it. But this is where they're at now. And so this is the team that they have. And so this is going to be a conundrum that they're going to have to figure out as we enter the season.
Well, when it comes to fueling this super halo body, quality actually matters to me. John, you know that I've been working out with my wife, and I love Just Ingredients, and it's the box that Johnny is holding. If you're watching on the video side.
Shall
Just
I
Ingredients
open it
is
up?
great. Yeah, why don't you open it up?
Let's see.
I got a delivery of the chocolate protein and
Oh,
the pre-workout. What'd you get?
you mean this chocolate protein powder? Let's go, Mike. You know what I like about this?
What do you like?
No sugars in
Yes.
the protein powder. That's
Yes.
huge. And then, the strawberry limeade pre-workout. Good stuff.
It's super good. I tried it, and this isn't just throwing flowers at the sponsor. It's actually good. It's actually pretty good.
It's hard to find a good protein powder that's not like
right. Am I eating chalk? Is this
Right.
chalk? Right? Like Just Ingredients is not that. They offer NSF certified line of protein powder, electrolytes, pre-workout, creatine. They're all rigorously tested to ensure that they're free of substances that are banned by major athletic organizations. They also partnered with Bryce Harper, who trusts their stuff and takes their stuff. Just Ingredients prioritizes wholesome, nourishing ingredients without all of the artificial junk, which I love. So whether you're recovering from a workout or you just need an energy boost, their grass-fed whey protein and pre-workout deliver real results. Visit their website, justingredients.com/Bryce Harper. And then when you're checking out, you can use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB. They're going to give you 20% off your order. And you can follow them for wellness tips at Just Ingredients, just.ingredients on Instagram.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Was that Hangman Adam Page from AEW on there? That's pretty great. Mike, with all the talk about who's going to be in the bullpen, one name that is a lock is Ryan Zeferjahn, who, we had a little bit of discussion on Twitter the other day, and there was some talk about Perry Minasian. And, comparatively, Perry has been a good GM to like Billy Epler or Jerry DiPoto or Tony Riggins. Perry's had some hits and misses, right? And that's totally fair assessment of Perry Minasian. But man, to trade Luis Garcia, who's on a minor league deal with the Dodgers, for 4 players from the Red Sox, and Ryan Zeferjahn is one of the guys that came back in that trade, who the Red Sox easily could have just, called up instead of trading for Luis Garcia and have him dominate the way that he did last season. So I am really excited about Ryan Zeferjahn. Let's talk about what Wash had to say in terms of his role in the bullpen. What did he have to say, Mike?
He said that Zeferjahn is going to be a guy that we're going to count on in high leverage situations. And Wash's confidence in Zeferjahn has given Ryan more confidence too. He said, knowing that Wash and the coaching staff have that much trust in me has already lit a fire underneath me. And he said it motivates him to go out there and help this team win. Now, this spring, Zeferjahn has been working on getting his fastball in the zone so that he can have it and use it as another weapon, because he throws hard. And if he can spot that fastball, if he can hit the top of the zone or the bottom of the zone, man, he can be really dominant. And the results so far this spring have been pretty good, haven't they, John?
Yeah, in 6 games, he's pitched 5 2/3 innings pitched, given up just 4 hits, walked 3, and struck out 6. And Wash has liked what he's seen from Ryan Zeferjahn, and here's what he had to say. The only thing I want him to continue to do is not take what he has on his shoulder for granted. He's young, he's still got ceiling, and I don't want him to realize or think he didn't reach the ceiling because he feels like he didn't reach his ceiling. Then he's going to be in trouble if he feels like he didn't actually get there. So what will the high leverage innings look like? Is it moments, Michael? Is it this guy's got the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th? Or is it a combination of both? What do you think?
I think it's going to be moments. And the way that Wash has managed over the last year, it feels like it's going to be moments. So if it's a high leverage situation in the 5th inning and it's a game that the Angels just got to have, then I wouldn't be surprised to see a Ryan Zeferjahn come in. And here's the benefit of that, John. If you use Ryan Zeferjahn in the 5th or the 6th inning, because it's a high leverage moment, bases loaded, Mookie Betts is up, right? And you just can't give up a run here. You use him, he gets out of the inning. You still have Kenley Jansen and Ben Joyce in this bullpen. And so that's the beauty of having a Zeferjahn in the back of this bullpen. And so I could see Wash really managing moments rather than innings. He feels like, as traditional as he is, he feels like he's got some flexibility when it comes to when he brings somebody in at a moment instead of going, oh, well, it's the seventh inning, so it has to be this guy. I think that we'll see a lot of Zeferjahn.
Analytically, it has to be, that
right.
thing,
I think that we'll see Zeferjahn in those high leverage moments, no matter what inning it actually is.
Look, everybody knows, buckle up, nerds, my catchphrase.
Yes.
Everybody knows I love the numbers, the data, the statistics, and the analytics, but it's what you do with those that matters, right, Mike? And sometimes, and I think this applies specifically to the bullpen, right? You want the right guy in the right moment in the right situation. There's 2 on, 2 out, and the game's on the line. I want a Zeferjahn in there. I want Ben Joyce in there because I know he's going to throw 100 plus. And when he gets that strikeout or that final out for the inning, he's going to, let's go. He's going to Street Fighter pose at the end of his inning, right? And so that's a situation that I think when it comes to feel, the moment like you're talking about, I think that's something that Ron Washington can be really good at. And I also think that the relief pitching, bullpen, those moments lend themselves the most to, ditching the data, going with the guy who's like, I got this. Let me in there and let me take a stab at it, because I think it really matters in those moments. Mike, I was just I was texting with a friend of ours the other day, and we're just thinking about, man, Stevenson coming back. Think about the back of this bullpen when you could have Zeferjahn, Stevenson, Ben Joyce, Kenley Jansen, maybe even Ryan Johnson in there somewhere. That's a good set of guys to have. I know Stevenson probably won't be back until after the All-Star break, but it might be one of those situations, Mike, where we're thinking, man, if we just had one more reliever, maybe we should go trade for some. Oh, wait, Robert Stevenson's coming back. Like, it might be right place, right time for him to come back and help this bullpen out, depending on where the Angels are by the All-Star break. All of that to say, I'm really excited for Ryan Zeferjahn because I think he really proved himself last season. One of the major reasons why this bullpen had the success that it did as they finished 2024, despite how difficult things were, despite trading away 2 of their best relievers, and despite losing a lot of guys to injury, the bullpen was certainly a highlight last season, and Ryan Zeferjahn was definitely a part of that.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now for your second listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball with our friends Matt and Dom. You can find their show on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Oh, man, I got to catch up on Locked On Fantasy Baseball because my draft is tonight. I got a lot of listening to do. Hey, give us a follow, friends, at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to today's show on YouTube. Get in the comment section. We always do our best to get back to you and be part of the conversation with you. Mike, what do we have on deck for Thursday's show?
John, there's one thing that Christian Moore has done this spring that has impressed his teammates, impressed his coaches, and even impressed Ron Washington, and it wasn't something he did on the field. We're going to tell you what he did tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
Starbucks on me, everybody. That's what he did. He's the one who got them all coffee in the morning. No, I'm just kidding. All right, friends, we hope you'll come back and join us for that conversation. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you back here on Thursday.
You said right time to roll to me, and I started thinking of Delamitre.
Roll to me.